Welcome to another episode of Pill and Pod. This is going to be an extremely important and very exciting episode. I would be speaking to Mr. R. Dasgupta here. Sir, I would like to welcome you in this podcast.
Thank you.
Sir, I would just like to start this episode with a small question that what was your journey and how did you get into the field of product management? And how exactly did you find this position or job description?
Okay. So, if I have to look back at my career, I didn't come to product management directly. I started in sales as a medical representative
Right, sir.
after my graduation in chemistry. And then after a few years in sales, as a medical rep, I was promoted as an area manager. And after that, I got the opportunity to become a product manager. And that was after about 9 years of working in sales as medical rep and area manager. So my foundation in sales was pretty strong, which I felt was extremely necessary to get into product management. As in the industry, we call product management as marketing department. So we cannot do marketing unless we know the market. So sales is actually, I would say, a precursor to getting into product management or marketing.
Dasgupta sir, this actually inculcates a question in me which I would just like to hear. Rather, I would like to ask two questions. The number one is, what exactly a product management department or the product management job is? And another question is, how should one decide that the aspirant or the new candidate wishes to go to or wish to go to product management department? So the very first question is, what is product management?
Okay. Now, as I said, product management is basically marketing. And when I say marketing, it's basically the strategic aspects. So whenever a person gets into product management, he has to have a strategic mind by which he has to make strategies for product promotion. So a strategy in pharmaceuticals cannot be isolated from product knowledge. If the person has got good background in pharmacy, essentially a B Pharm or an M Pharm, with an MBA degree, which is absolutely necessary these days, one can get into product management directly also without going through the rigors of sales. Now, in companies, actually, the job profile of a product manager differs from one company to another company. If I have to broadly classify, the product managers in an MNC and the product managers in Indian companies, the job description is slightly different. One part of the product manager's job is basically medical advertising, where you have to make promotional literatures, advertisements for journals, and so many other things which are useful for sales. It's basically playing a supportive role to sales in terms of medical advertising. So a person with a creative mind is a natural choice for the management to induct into product management. But again, that's not all. As I said, in the strategic function, I would say the job description is more, towards the strategic function for multinationals. There, the development of promotional literatures, advertisements and all, most of the things come from the principal company abroad, which are modified in India by these product managers. So it is very often that the product manager cannot apply his mind fully because there are certain things which he's getting from his principal company. Whereas the situation is a little different in the Indian companies. There, a product manager totally unleashes his creative potential. So this is one aspect. And secondly, to make any strategy, one has to have a very strong analytical mind. So whenever you are given data, a product manager is given data, you should be able to interpret that data. Like what could be the reasons behind certain inexplicable growth kaise aa gaya achanak, or you can say that if the sales are going down, how are you going to analyze? There are so many ways to analyze. So main thing is, unless you find out the cause of different manifestations in sales, you cannot have a cure for that. So analytics is extremely important. Nowadays, of course, with the analytics based on software coming up, people are employing Python and SAS and all these things, and companies are having full-fledged analytics department to support PMT. That's again something which has developed recently. So first aspect to become a product manager is creativity for the advertising aspect. Second aspect is, a strategic mind to create strategies that will stand above competition. And the third aspect is analytics. So problem identification becomes accurate. So these are the three essentials in product management. And last but not the least, because everything, all promotion is done in English, because the target audience is the doctor who is very educated. So one's English has to be absolutely impeccable. There's no scope for a person making mistakes while preparing promotional literature or advertising material. So the English is something which the management sees before they select, candidate for product management. So nowadays, of course, BPharm candidates are not a problem. There's a oversupply of BPharm students. Unlike our time, there were a handful of institutes all over India. But now BPharm graduates are easily available. But yes, they want a good MBA, preferably from a tier 1 institute in the good companies. But MBA is absolutely necessary. Without that, it's very difficult or impossible to get into product management.
Fantastic, sir. Fantastic. So, if it's all with your permission, I would like to summarize the things which you have given the details. The product management department or the product management job function is the candidate requires to make strategy to promote the product portfolio which is available with the company by studying its technicality, deep down study of scientific background of the drug, and then the candidate would make a strategy by analyzing the field, the market, the customer profiling, everything. Product manager will actually make a strategy which would be percolated down to the field force, and the field force would implement that strategy in the field so that the sales would get generated. And then the product manager would again analyze whether he has made a right strategy, whether the profit is coming from out of that strategy or not. Am I right, Dada? Is this the product manager works?
You're absolutely right. And while you were summarizing what I said, I think I realized that I left out something. The person in product management has to be very good in communication.
Right.
Now, communication can have so many meanings.
Mm-hmm.
But here, communication basically means most of these product managers have to sell their strategies to the field.
Correct, sir.
Because when you're making a strategy, it should be implementable.
Mm-hmm.
And the product manager is sent across the country to conduct these cycle meetings or briefing meetings, whatever they are called, and convince the people in the field, like medical reps, area managers, regional managers, to follow the strategy. Now, following a strategy comes only when the people in the field are convinced about it.
Correct.
So it is a big responsibility on the product manager to ensure that the strategies which he has made has been passed on effectively to the medical rep, or rather they are convinced about it. And second part is the product manager's communication has to be exemplary, because in the head office, corporate office, he is interacting with people who are much senior to him.
Right, sir.
Including the directors, the managing director, because for product managers handling very critical products, when I say critical, which has a huge impact on the company's business.
Mm-hmm.
The managing director also sits in the meetings. So there one has to be very tactful while participating in the meeting. A person who does not have the communication skills finds it a little difficult to interact with people who are much, much senior to him in the organization.
Very, very right, Dada. Very, very rightly said. So I presume by listening to your details, I think the product manager's job is extremely high profile job where he has or she has to collaborate with the senior people sitting out there in the corporates or even the managing directors or the vice president level people, and then he has or she has to prepare a strategy for promoting a product, and this strategy would have to be sold to the field force in the most comfortable communicable way so that the field force would buy this strategy and would start implementing it in the field. So the
That's
product
right.
manager would actually be a bridge between the
Correct.
sales force and the higher up management. And as you
Yes.
very correctly said, his communication skills should be so apt. His communication and the smartest of this product management has to be on the top level where he has to be extremely tactful when he would be sitting with the higher ups in the meeting. Maybe he would be presenting his proposal to be implemented in the field, and then he would stoop down to the level of medical representatives or area managers or zonal business managers to sell his strategy or to make
Absolutely.
them implement his strategy. Am I right, Dada?
Right. Absolutely right.
Fantastic. So I was just trying to look into the description, if at all a B form or a M form can fit into this role. So I think I find that technical know-how of a product, scientific background of a product, how exactly its mechanism of action, pharmacodynamics, pharmacokinetics, the dosing, the toxicity. Here, a B form and M form person can definitely have a edge. But as you very rightly said, this profile is more of a management or a strategizing profile. A person has to have a MBA qualification as well and strategic
Yes.
thinking, analytical thinking. Right,
Yes.
Dada?
Yes.
Fantastic. So I would like to ask a related question here. How a new candidate, let's say a B form or a M form, and let's say he or she does MBA as well, how this person can join into product management and what could be the selection criteria? Or if at all, I would
Okay.
ask this question or rephrase this question in another way. What would you like to see in a fresher's resume if you are interviewing for a product management vacancy?
Okay. Now, first and foremost, as I said in the beginning, graduation in pharmacy is absolutely essential because earlier days, like in my time, it wasn't so necessary because the companies should train the people. Because in those days, the demand supply situation of pharmacy graduates was not as good as it is today. Only a handful of pharmacy colleges existed throughout India. I'm talking of early 80s. So nowadays, UP alone has more than 100 pharmacy colleges.
Right, Dada.
So, so the companies have made it mandatory that nobody will get entry into product management if he is not a pharmacy graduate or a postgraduate. And because the nature of job is such that a lot of strategic sort of duties are there, the MBA becomes absolutely necessary again. An
Mm-hmm.
MBA from a good university, because normally people who are very good, who get a good percentile, can get into a tier one business school.
Business school.
So these people normally have very good levels of English, which is required.
Of course.
So now, if I have to select today, what I'll like to see in a biodata is a person with a BPharm MBA. That's the first and foremost which I'm going to see.
Mm-hmm.
And the HR is also briefed like that. I mean, because the people in HR, the junior level people are, scrutinizing the CVs and they're shortlisting CVs. They are told that if he's not a BPharm MBA, then please do not shortlist.
Right.
So when that comes to us, we see the track record. Often what happens is there are people who do BPharm, and then after a few years as a medical rep, they join as a medical rep
Mm-hmm.
because that's the interview they had appeared for in the campus in the pharmacy college. There are a lot of people, companies which come to the campus to recruit people in the field. So that's their first job. And after some time, many of these people take a break and do a full-time 2-year MBA.
Okay, sir.
That's actually the ideal thing to do. I mean, I give a lot of weightage to such candidates
Wow, that's a
because
beautiful thing.
number one is that he is a pharmacy graduate
Mm-hmm.
and he has been able to crack CAT, the admission test for
Combined
MBA,
admission test, yes.
with a percentile that got him into a good
BA, business school.
MBA, yeah, correct, business school. So ideally, I look for that. But there are people who may not have, got into a full-time MBA,
Mm-hmm.
but along with his job, they have pursued a executive MBA degree or something like that. Because as long as the learning is good, see, it's not enough to just have a degree. The learning from the degree has to be good, which a person can apply. Because during the interview, that comes out very clearly. There are some people who have just bookish knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
and there's some people who can apply the knowledge. So it actually shows the level of learning a person has had from an MBA degree.
Right, sir.
So in a 15-20 minutes or half an hour discussion with a candidate, it comes out very clearly that who the person should be, because I'm looking at his communication skills, I'm looking at his strategic skills, and of course, a person with a field experience, he scores over the rest because he knows exactly what is going on in the field. So strategizing comes to him naturally.
Right.
So this is the profile which I would like to look at when I'm selecting people.
Fantastic, Dada. Fantastic. So, a related question is actually coming into my mind. As you just had been mentioning that you look into the CV or the resume of the candidate to look his or her eligibility for the product management department. But what kind of questions would actually you like to ask the candidate pertaining to your area? I mean, product management area. What questions would you like to ask?
See, for a person who took a break to do MBA,
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely ask him what was his long-term thinking, long-term plans
Okay.
while taking this decision.
Of taking a
So,
break and studying again.
taking a break and studying.
All right.
I mean, because he's a pharmacy graduate, taking a break and doing an MBA, so he must have had something in his mind.
Correct.
So the clarity of his thoughts are very evident when he's answering that question.
Mm-hmm.
That he's very clear about what he wants to do.
Oh, right.
And second is, I try to get some idea about what his knowledge, what his perception of a product manager's job is.
Okay.
Because a lot of people who have worked in the field, they're a little hazy about this thing, that what's the actual job of a product manager. They confuse it with training, because that's the role they see the product manager in. Whenever they come to meet them in the cycle meetings or briefing meetings, the primary role they see the product manager in is the training part. So they confuse between the role of a product manager as a trainer, which is not the actual function. Because when he's not training in the field, the rest of the time he's doing something else. So what is that something else? A lot of people don't have clarity on that. But today, with BA in pharmaceutical management and all coming in, many universities have this degree now. It has become a little clear. But again, I wouldn't say very clear, but little clear.
Okay.
Because most of these universities who have this pharmaceutical management MBA, they lack, faculty who are experienced in pharmaceuticals. So what they do is they teach general MBA with a little bit of
pharmaceutical knowledge.
They don't blend together. Suppose they have DRA. DRA as a part of product management. Now they don't meet anywhere in product management.
Of course.
Because DRA is a separate department.
Bilkul.
So there are a lot of things still hazy. And that is what I am contributing now in Jamia Millia Islamia University. And I have done so in Jamia Hamdard and Delhi University also.
Fantastic.
So there are universities who are inviting speakers from the industry. So that is helping matters to a great extent.
Fabulous, Dada, fabulous. Thank you so much for answering this question so beautifully. I would like to summarize again the wisdom which you had just given us. Now, after listening to this program, many candidates and aspirants would actually come to know what exactly the product management job is, what exactly is being expected of a candidate who would be there in product management. So, product management job is a job where a person has to strategize the entire growth of a product starting from its inception, its strategy, its implementation, its profit and loss, and then the product manager would also be responsible and accountable to answer the results of his or her strategy to higher up management. So, in a way, the product manager would be a driver who would actually drive the entire growth of a particular product. And then he would be looking after maybe the product portfolio in by large. Am I right, Dada?
Yes, you are right. Let me go back a little in history.
So,
See, the product management concept came about 70, 80 years ago with this company who used to market the brand of soap called Camay.
right,
Because the brand had taken a dip and the company was worried. So then they assigned someone to look after the marketing of only one brand. So the type of job he had been given, it is almost like a CEO of the brand.
Wow.
Right from strategizing to the P&L, profit and loss of the brand. So, and when that function started, these people used to be called little CEOs.
Wow.
Okay, if you go see any the textbook of marketing, the product manager were being referred as the little CEOs of the company.
Okay.
So it's a very rich, job function. And once a person spends some time on it, he probably is in line to become the big CEO of the company at some point.
Oh my God. Okay. Isn't that beautiful? So I was just thinking, like you have just mentioned, that if at all a candidate is working in sales field, and then when he sees the product manager in the cycle meetings or maybe the product launch meetings, that the product manager is just training them. So he or she gets an idea that product manager's job is the training. But behind training, only the part of training part is just maybe a very small part of a product manager's job. Product manager does n number of things which are much more important than simple training. So the candidate should, my suggestion is the candidate should very minutely watch the product managers while attending their cycle meetings, and then there only they should try to find out what exactly product managers actually do, which is which would be an eye opening. And of course, I would just like to mention it here that after listening to this program and after your wisdom, we would actually get a very clear idea what exactly product management is. So, Dada, I would just like to ask another question here, that if at all some final year student, let's say M.Pharm student or MBA student after doing M.Pharm, they are actually making a plans to go into product management, if at all they might have collected some data on the job profile or the job functions of product management. So what kind of resources available, if at all they wish to develop their skills in their last term to get into product management? What kind of skills they should develop?
See, most of the skills which are looked at very seriously by the management are the soft skills actually. Because a person who has done his MBA and M.Pharm, it is taken for granted that he has got some level of strategic acumen. He's got some level of, English language skills, and the creativity, of course, I think it can be developed over a period of time. And there are people who are working for you in the creative, agencies, ad agencies. So if the briefing is good with a good pharmacy degree, any creative work can be done by a good creative agency. So that's not a big concern. But again, there are things which need to be developed by your whatever you have done in your MBA degree. For example, sales forecasting. This is a skill which requires your good computer skills, especially Excel. And because you are forecasting, a lot of historical data is required, and seasonal fluctuations you have to see. And forecasting is so important. I tell you why. That if a product is being launched, it's a new product,
Hmm.
and there's certain amount of competition in the market. What is the year one sales which you are going to forecast?
Hmm.
Okay, because if you don't forecast that accurately, then your entire PNL will be haywire at the end of the year, because you are also doing the budgeting for advertising and promotion. So when you are doing budgeting for advertising and promotion, then you are doing it based on the total annual sales forecast. A percentage, say X 5%, 10%, or whatever, of the sales forecast is the advertising and promotion budget.
Hmm.
Now, if you have, for example, I'm giving a arbitrary figure. If you have projected 1 crore
Hmm.
and you assume 10% in year one as the advertising and promotion costs,
Right. 10 lakhs.
and you end up achieving 50 lakhs end of the 1 year,
Okay.
that 10% becomes 20%,
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Of
and that'll
course.
that'll that'll pull down the
Profit and loss
uh,
account. Hmm.
brand profitability,
Yeah. Yes,
and
absolutely.
the top management will not be happy about it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
so forecasting is extremely important. One has to be very prudent while forecasting. The quantitative techniques that has been learnt in college, in MBA, that has to be applied. A certain amount of inputs from the field are also required for forecasting, but that has to be taken very cautiously, because field have a tendency to over project
Right.
to get stocks.
Hmm. Hmm.
But that has to be done very carefully. And personally, what I used to do is, if I felt that my product would do 5 crores, I has to assume 2.5 crores as the achievement. Then do the budgeting.
Okay. Okay.
Because even if my forecast goes haywire,
Hmm.
you know,
You'll be on the
because
safer
it's
grounds.
I'll be on safer grounds. My bosses won't be unhappy with me.
Okay. This is
Okay.
extremely, extremely sensitive. That means.
Forecasting is extremely important, and it can affect the bottom line of the company if the product manager is not careful while doing it.
So I was just going to ask this question only, Dada, but you have already answered it. That my question was coming as what could be the most sensitive part of this job. So you have already answered this, that a product manager has to look into the historical data of the market or historical data of the product, and then he or she has to make a sales forecast. And on this sales forecast value, management, the upper higher management, would allocate some budget, marketing or advertising budget. A product manager has to run the entire show in that budget, and to generate that kind of a profit, the brand profit, which could actually meet the targets of the company. So this is extremely sensitive,
Yes.
very, I must say, difficult, of course, and sensitive. A candidate should utilize the resources available when he or she would be studying in MBA, or if at all they might have been collecting these experiences from market. So this has to be kept in the mind of aspirants, new candidates, that this is extremely sensitive job where he has to maintain a balance of making profit for the company. He is accountable, or she is accountable to make a strategy of such sort that would generate profit. So this was another question which was coming in my mind, that how sensitive the job of product management is, and you have answered it.
No, in
So
fact, let me tell you, every aspect of a product manager's job is sensitive.
it's very, very
Now,
sensitive.
I have given you one of the aspects,
Hmm.
which normally the responsibility is with a senior person. See, product management also has got different levels in the organization. You have the product executive, then you have the assistant product manager, group product manager, marketing manager.
Hmm.
So each of these have different, sensitive jobs to do. For example, when someone is joining as a product executive, he's doing a lot of reading, because he has to find out evidence for to support the claims which is making in a promotional material. So he has to go through PubMed, do a lot of search, and then find out the right references which can be highlighted in the promotional literature, because in pharmaceutical promotion you cannot have a claim without a reference,
Correct.
without a citation. So he has to do a lot of reading. Now, in most of these studies, you have got statistical validation of certain results, like p value and all that.
Correct.
So if you are not very conversant with that, then it might be a little bit hazy while we are picking up when you are reading the conclusions.
Right.
So at that level of product executive, these are important. Plus, as I said, English, proofreading, spellings. Because these people at the junior level are given this, it's a boring job, but it's an important job, proofreading.
Correct.
And I tell you, there are sometimes product managers lose their jobs because of this.
Oh my God!
Because you have printed, suppose 1 lakh literatures, promotional leave behinds, and there's a glaring mistake right at the heading. The company cannot go ahead with that. That is lost. That is wasted.
Of course.
And because the product executive skipped the mistake when he was proofreading it. So there's an art of proofreading. Okay. So these are very sensitive things. They exist at every level in product management. Like the one of forecasting, I said the ultimate responsibility is with the marketing manager. Because he's going to face the music if the P&L doesn't work out right.
Right. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. So I was just collecting a few points out here which you have mentioned very aptly. A product manager has to apply his or her creativity to strategize the things. A product manager has to be extremely good in language skill because he or she needs to communicate his strategy to upper management as well as the field force to sell his strategy or to get it implemented. And then, of course, a product manager has to be extremely good in proofreading, as you have just mentioned, because if at all a leaflet of a scientific nature with a spelling mistake goes out in the market or gets printed, that's a huge investment. And of course, the marketing manager or the upper hires would actually not be tolerating it. So it's extremely important and sensitive job. Wow. Thank you so much, Dada, for this honest reply. And I would just like to ask here, Dada, what exactly do you see as an actual ground reality of this profession? I would like to know your honest review on this. Actual ground reality of product management department.
See, again, it depends on the company. Because this is a very, what should I say, interesting job at all levels. The product executive level at the beginning or at the senior most level. It's an extremely interesting job. And I always strongly recommend this to the my MBA students that their ultimate ambition is to grow in product management. Now, the thing is that some companies do not know how to use a product manager. And that is very sad, actually. I mean, they are basically, as I would put it, it sounds funny, but it's true. We normally have 4 P's in marketing.
Right.
Now there are many more. Every 5 years, there's 1 P being added. But the classical 4 P is product, price, place, promotion.
Correct.
But in some small companies who have product managers, they are being utilized for
3.
Packing, printing, proofing, posting.
Okay. All right.
So that becomes a thankless job. Okay. Normally, a family managed company and all, the MD dictates every strategy, does everything. And as I said, the 4 P's of that company is what I told you just now.
Right.
So actually, it depends on the company to a great extent. But in the organized sector, the top 300 companies, so to say, in the IMS, IQVIA statistics, top 300 companies in the organized sector, they are more or less good to work with. And your people who are listening to this conversation should know that product manager is also called brand managers.
Right.
So ultimately, you are managing a brand. So they should not get confused that I have learnt about product management, but have not been told about brand management.
Brand
It's one
management.
on the same. It's one on the same.
That's beautiful. The brand manager or a product manager. I mean, this is a beautiful term, the brand manager. I would just like to inform everybody, whosoever is listening to this program, is that this job is a very, very exciting job. Of course, extremely sensitive as well, because a person has to utilize his entire capability of strategizing, language skills, soft skills, analytical abilities. But they are actually brand managers. They make a brand, a super successful brand, and the brand managers are behind that brand and are being recognized by the industry with open arms. So this is extremely, extremely exciting job. Dada, I would just like to ask you here about this job profile and the characteristics of this job. Do we have overseas opportunities also in this field?
Of course, most of the people who join as product executives are early to mid 20s, and all these guys are on the fast track. Product
Right.
management is a very fast track career.
Hmm.
So in sales, normally you become a general manager or vice president by the time you are 50.
बिल्कुल ठीक है दादा.
Right.
Hmm.
But here, a general manager ideally is 35 to 40. Max, 40 is late actually.
Pretty fast.
So
pretty fast.
within 10-15 years, they become a GMVP. All right. So now what next? So these are the people who are placed in different, responsibilities, sometimes abroad, and they get opportunities of handling a business. See, the thing is, they have to grow into a job where sales and marketing they merge. So a product manager can become, a head of marketing or head of product management for a particular region. Region means I can say Africa, Europe, people who are in international business. So he's controlling everything from his corporate headquarters, wherever it is in India, or maybe he's working for an African company based in, say, Kenya or somewhere. So there are lots of opportunities to go abroad. But I would always say a person who is working in an Indian company should grow in the job within India, because the corporate office has people at the vice president, senior vice president level in international business, where you don't have to be stationed outside. Once you go outside, you have to adjust, for 12 months in a year with a different culture altogether. Where if you are based in your corporate headquarters as the senior most person in international business, you are traveling all over, but you are based in your own country. So one should not feel happy that, okay, I'm being posted in Russia, I'm posted in some African country. That fun of going abroad will, die soon if he goes at a very junior level.
Right.
So I would always tell people to grow in India, reach the topmost position, and maybe get into international business at some point of time.
Very right.
Of course, in foreign countries, there's the growth is a little different, because they are the Indian companies are part of a global company. So they have a much wider talent pool to choose from for postings in different countries. For example, say Pfizer, they want someone to look after part of Europe or Middle East. They'll choose from their pool of talent from the global
community. Yeah.
Community, yes. So, but yes, chances are there in multinationals for such plum postings, and a life after 14 product management becomes where there you have to handle a lot of sales responsibility, because there's a basic difference between sales and marketing. In sales, you are handling targets month to month, which you have to achieve. In marketing, you are been given a target, but normally not a month to month thing. It's more of a quarter or a half yearly. Okay, where you'll be questioned.
Fantastic.
So the time comes when you have to, you become a business head. Then you have to start achieving month to month. So that pressure one has to learn how to take at a young age. So people who have done sales in the beginning of the career, they are much more, acquainted with this, pressure of every month target.
Okay, fine. Absolutely, Dada. Thank you so much. I would just like to call that pressure as a challenge. The candidate learns to take the challenges when the candidate is actually working in sales or maybe strategizing, and then when the candidate gets into the product management, he gets slightly bigger and slightly more challenging challenges. So, next thing that I would just like to ask you, what are the most rewarding aspects of working in product management department?
So as I said, the job profile is such that it is very absorbing, stimulating. You're applying your mind throughout the day. It's a more of a brain work, and people who love to do that will enjoy it. And the other aspect is, what are we working for? We are working for a career, and product management is a fast track career. For the good people, 10 years becoming a GMVP is not a big deal. Within 10 years he can make it, and beyond that, if he's good, he'll grow to much bigger areas. Be part of a globe, he'll be given for international business. So it's a very rewarding career once he gets into product management.
Very fine. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Dada, for answering that. Now, I would just like to ask you, Dada, does any company provide mentorship programs or training opportunities for new professionals in product management?
See, mentorship program, this has been given formal shape now in many MNCs, also in large Indian companies. But see, who is a mentor? Who is basically mentoring you, guiding you, developing you? So during our times, there was no formal mentorship programs. It was our boss,
right,
who used to make us. Okay, so I would always say the boss is your first mentor. Right. Now there are companies which hire professional mentors. Other than the boss, the thought process is a little different. But the person who's your actual mentor is your own boss, because he knows you much better than anyone else.
Of course.
And how to guide you, what job to give you, how to develop you. So that in itself is a mentorship program.
And what about the training opportunities, Dada? As a management trainee?
See, the people who are taking the big companies, medium-sized companies, they either recruit as a product executive directly or as a management trainee.
Okay.
So, management trainee, normally there are companies who recruit, but for the first 6 months to 1 year, they are given a very good, exposure to different departments. So that they get a ringside view of whatever the work processes are related to their job. So, for example, a product manager will get into field for 1 quarter, distribution for 1 quarter. So that's way he's moved around in different departments. So, and again, sometimes it's only a designation. Instead of calling him product executive, he's called a management trainee.
And Dada, what about internship? Do companies give internships for new candidates? Let's say if at all a candidate wishes to get...
Normally, there are all these business schools. They have this, term breaks and semester breaks. So summer interns and all these internships are common when they are studying. And many companies have got a internship program for MBAs from good business schools. They come and take training for 2 weeks, and when the dissertation program is going on, they stay for a much longer period.
Right.
So, and if good work is shown, they are the people who are preferred if they have shown some good work, good attitude during the internship period. They after the MBA is complete, they are probably absorbed in the company.
So if at all I would like to think on how would a candidate come to know about any particular internship available in a company, he or she would get it from the business college, MBA college, the colleges would actually be arranging these internship programs with the companies.
Yeah, there is a placement cell in most of these colleges.
Correct.
So their job is to
Arrange these.
put a placement among the students only. They select people who are supposed to, communicate either in writing or personal visits, and look for internships, placements. So they do all this work.
Fantastic. Amazing. Dada, this question is, though of course, not a trivial one. It's a question which is there on the top of the mind of a new candidate or an aspirant. Though of course, it should not be there on the very first point. The question is, what are the initial salary packages in product management department if at all a new person gets into the department? Initial salary
average,
packages.
I would say, is 50,000 per month. But again, it varies because the industry is so fragmented. You have companies of 1,000 crores, you have companies of 100 crores also.
Right.
So the salaries cannot be the same. And very often the companies, their USP is stability in the company. So such companies, they give a lesser salary. I know there are companies in top 5 in India, big companies, but they don't pay very well. But if one sticks on with the company, the growth is good. Okay. So one should not actually think too much about money. It's also important because your personal branding when you're joining, the company also, the banner under which you are working, that helps. So,
and what would be the growth in, let's say, post-wise, position-wise, and salary-wise, let's say in 10 years, if at all a person sticks into product management department? Can you possibly numberize it?
Now you see, now most of these people who are in, say, 5 years in this job in a good company, they are getting 6-figure salaries.
Wow.
So,
okay.
But again, as I say, you can't generalize because there are companies which pay much less also. But good companies, good MNCs, 6-figure salary within 5 years, is very much achievable. Yes.
Amazing.
So by the time you are in your late 20s, you are on a 6-figure salary.
Wow.
So that's pretty comfortable. But nowadays there is people who are doing MBA and people who are looking for a job in product management. They get, attracted towards other industries which pay much more. For example, nowadays the KPO is very strong in India. Knowledge process outsourcing.
Right.
You
knowledge
see,
processing.
The consulting. So you have companies like ZS Associates in Gurgaon, which is again a KPO, and they pay the highest, I know, starting 80,000 per month.
Wow.
For BPharm MBAs. But yes, they make sure that they select the best.
Of course.
And their selection process is so rigorous that only very brainy people can join at that salary in ZS. They select the best. I mean, that's the thing I want to say.
Fantastic.
But everybody can't get into those jobs. So a lot of jobs are being taken away by the KPOs. So often the industry is not getting the best talent.
Okay.
Because the industry is about 20-30% less in salary.
Still, Dada, a person, a candidate, an aspirant who is looking into get into product management department, and the candidate joins pharma education with management education after, let's say, working in the field for another 3-4 years, he can still look into getting an entry or getting a position in product management department in a substantially respectable company, Indian multinational or multinational company, with a salary package is starting from, I would say minimum 50,000 per month. That is approximately 6 to 7 lakhs per annum. And
No, I wouldn't say minimum. I would say average.
average. All right. Average. So we'll just take an average of, let's say, 6 lakhs per annum at entry level. And then within 5 years or so, we can visualize a person getting a 6-figure salary. That's a phenomenal increment. Of course, the candidates whosoever are listening to this program will get an idea where exactly they will be. If at all, they'll be having these prerequisites met, like MBA, with pharma education, of course, with a collaboration of 3 to 4 years of sales experience, and then product management, as Dasgupta sir has very correctly mentioned, is a fast track career, extremely fast track career. The candidate can grow leaps and bounds within 10 years. He can reach to the level of general manager or marketing manager, VP. So fantastic, Dada. Thank you so much. How important is networking in this field in product management? Networking. How important is that?
Networking is important in every job these days. It is not just pharma. It is not just product management. In every industry, every job, networking has assumed great importance. Because the technology has helped us. Like now we know we have something called LinkedIn, which didn't exist 15 years ago.
Right, Dada.
So now if anyone is interested in making connections, can connect with the right type of people and who can be of help, provided his LinkedIn profile is good. Because again, LinkedIn profile, there are experts who make it for you. If your LinkedIn profile is good, then I'm sure connections on LinkedIn can be of great help. And of course, a product manager also goes into the field to work. So there you can, meet so many people from the industry. So connections can be made. Someone who is good in making connections will make connections anywhere.
Yes.
So this is something, networking is playing a very important role these days for growing in career, job changes, things like that.
Thank you so much, Dada. Thank you so much for all the insight and the wisdom you had given us today. I would request you to please give any message to the aspirants, to the candidates, whosoever is or trying to make a career in product management, or if at all they wish to understand what product management is. Any messages to the aspirants, Dada?
Yeah, my message would be, since I'm talking to people who are doing B.Pharm or would like to do MBA, so my first message will be that one, you should not think too much about salary when you are starting your career. Your learning is something which doesn't depend on your salary. So your first job you should take as an extension of your education. So this should go on for 5 years at least.
Okay.
Because your learning should be very fast. And you should change only when you feel that you are not learning anything. So that's very important. And for pharmacy graduates who are getting into product management, I still feel that little bit of sales experience helps. So if someone is a B.Pharm MBA and he has not got a breakthrough in pharma as a product manager, nothing wrong if you start as a medical rep or business executive or whatever they are called. So this is extremely valuable, because if someone has gone through the paces in the market, it can be extremely helpful in your growth, career growth, even after you become a product manager. Because as I said, your stakeholders are your medical reps. When you become a product manager, you're going for briefing meetings, and they'll listen to you much more if they know that you are from the field.
Correct.
So they can relate to you. So never feel shy of I have done MBA, so why should I become a medical rep? This should not be the attitude. So if you can get in directly into product management, well and good. If you can't get in, if someone is offering a medical representative job, take it, learn from it,
Right.
and then shift to product management.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Dasgupta sir. Thank you so much for coming
My
into our
pleasure.
program and giving wisdom to new aspirants, new candidates. Now they would actually have a more clear idea of a job opportunity in pharmaceutical industry after doing their B Pharm combined with MBA. Thank you so much, sir.
Welcome.